Manouk Akopyan. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to our partners, personal injury attorney Nelson Gavorkian. Hi, everyone. We are joined by Roma Kalantaryan, who is fresh off of a huge win with his fighter, Bakhram Murtazaliev, 154-pound IBF champion, beating Tszyu over the weekend in Orlando, Florida. Roma, it was a one-sided demolition job. A lot of people were surprised on how easy this fight was and just the destruction that Bakhram had in this fight. Can you just make sense of everything that has transpired over the last few days of you as you guys have enjoyed this victory together?
Yeah, first of all, nice talking to you, Manouk. I haven't seen you for a long time. Yeah, good to see you. And
Absolutely, likewise.
yeah, man, a lot of people talk about how easy it was, but they don't know about the past 10 weeks that we went through. So they don't understand what we went through. So it was not easy. We prepared for like a war, So I don't think it was that easy for us. The final test was, yeah, not that hard. But before the test, we went through hell and come back, so a few times.
For anyone who didn't see the fight, obviously Tszyu, one of the bigger names in boxing, he had a lot of people had big plans for him in 2025, but Bakhram obviously disrupted those plans by defending his title. After a somewhat competitive first round, Tszyu was knocked down 3 times in the second, once in the third, and his corner threw in the towel moments after that, and that's all she wrote. The fight did not last into the second half of the third round. Even it was over in almost 7 minutes. How this is obviously you've trained guys like Alexander Besputin, Vanis Martirosyan. You've had guys like Arman Tsarukyan in the gym. World-class talent when you see it. This is your third fight with Bakhram. How enjoyable was this win for you in your training and coaching career?
Working with him is very easy, because he's very hardworking. So there isn't any issues working with him because he would just trust you with everything. He'll give you the will and have you just take over everything. So even before the fight, we had a game plan, of course. We've been planning. I've been studying a lot of videos and whatever. But when you talk to him, he's like, Coach, it doesn't matter. I'm only gonna do whatever you say from the corner. So that's how easy it is working with him. You know what I mean?
What makes Bakhram special as a fighter that you're training?
Well, he knows how to box, right? He had over, I think, 170 amateur fights, 150 something and 20 something, right? So he knows how to box, right? He's been boxing since a young age, so he knows how to box. He's a great boxer. But at the same time, in the pros, it's a little different. He can change the fight in like a second, like last weekend, right? One punch could make a big decision. Like the same thing happened in Germany, same thing happened this past weekend again. It doesn't matter how tough the fight is, how, boring the fight is, or how not boring the fight is, or exciting the fight is. If he lands, it's going to be fireworks, He's got that one punch.
Now, as a coach, as an analyst yourself, what was Tim doing wrong in that fight?
So with Tim, we go back with Tim. We got offered to fight him when after the first fight together. We got offered to fight him when Bakhram went to Russia. The same day he landed, they called us about a fight to fight Tim in Australia, and he had his visa expired, right? So he couldn't come for training camp. And the fight was supposed to be in like 5 weeks or something. So he couldn't come back to train. He couldn't train in Russia because I wouldn't go there. And we had only 5 weeks. So even if he would have gotten visa, and those were like bad times, like right after COVID, the embassies were closed, like the line to get in was like crazy. So ever since then, I studied the guy. So when he called, he's like, oh, yeah, there's something like this. And then we couldn't take it because it was impossible. He got his visa after like, I don't know, 6-7 weeks approved to come back again for training camp, right? So ever since then, I was studying the guy, and I seen all the, when I study a fighter, I don't go by what mistakes they do. I check on what they're good at. because if you're good at something, you're gonna do repeatedly. You're gonna keep doing the same thing because you're good at it. Every single fight you watch him, he's got the pressure, the way he comes in, the way he pulls from a punch. He doesn't jump back. He's flat-footed. He just turns kind of back this way, tries to counter punch. He's good at those things. And when he throw a jab, he slips this way, tries to attack the body or the head. So I study all the stuff that he's good at and try to, because I know he's going to do it for sure. If he's bad at something, he might not do it. He might correct it. Or he might come back the next fight and not do it anymore because his coach is going to work on that. So I try to see what he's good at, and I'm positive he's going to do the same thing again. So when he does the same thing again, we're going to catch him. And that's
it looks like you guys are ready to fight fire with fire, because Bakhram, obviously, he ate a couple of shots too early on in that fight.
Well, our plan was this, okay? Going in the first round, test his power. Bring some aggression towards him, have him throw some shots, right? So if you hear me in a corner when he comes back, I ask him in Russian, how did you feel his power? Did you feel his power? He's like, coach, I don't feel nothing. He throw his best shots, and I did not feel anything. So I'm like, okay, just make sure you see those punches coming, because if you see them punches coming, you can take him, I guess. So now you go back and do what you're supposed to do, whatever we worked on. The only problem we had was right, like before we flew to Orlando, the last sparring, we had like a 6-round small sparring. He broke his right hand.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's why most of the game plan went like only 50% because he didn't have his right hand. So plus Tim has the awkward stance when he kind of like has sharp elbows. I call it sharp elbows when his elbows are kind of sticking out and not straight like other fighters. So the right body shot that we planned, it wasn't going to land because of the sharp elbows, where if you hit the elbow with a broken hand. The straight right hand was kind of a problem a little bit. That's why we had to throw a little bit like open hooks instead of the straight right hand, stuff like that. But the left was there. So we were hoping to connect that left, and that's what happened,
Yeah, the left was there all night. So that's interesting. So Bakhram had a broken hand in that fight.
After the last sparring, we iced it, and we keep icing. His whole knuckle, the last one, the pinky one, it was all like gone, kind of. You don't even see knuckle anymore. It was like big. So we've been icing even before the fight, like at the hotel room. We've been icing for like an hour, and then we just boom, we walked to the arena.
Wow, that was an incredible performance to be doing that with a broken right hand. That's why I guess he was just throwing those left hooks.
Would have canceled the fight or anything like that. Imagine what people would say. No, he's like, I'm gonna do this. I don't care if I have a broken hand,
So is that why also there was a sense of urgency to finish this fight sooner?
Not necessarily, but we talked about it, don't throw the right hand unless you really have to, because it's 12 rounds. Every time you hit and it doesn't hit the way it's supposed to land, it's going to damage your hand more, and it's going to get more and more and more. And we got 12 rounds. So we focused on open hooks, the one from when you're turning open hooks, so you don't have to really connect this. So not too many straight shots and stuff like that. But other than that, no. I just told them to pick your shots. Don't throw too much of the right hand for no reason, because they were expecting us to throw those right hands like crazy. And then when he comes in, he goes 1-2, or he goes some kind of feint or something, and he kind of leans towards his left to throw the body shot. Our plan was connect with a right uppercut, or right straight, and then left hook. If not, then left hook and then right uppercut. But I guess since the right was not there, we only worked with the left, and it worked out.
So obviously now the plan is to get his hand healing and to go into these big fights in 2025. 154 pounds is one of the most loaded divisions in all of boxing right now. You have Terence Crawford, the WBA titleist. You have Sebastian Fundora, Virgil Ortiz, Sergey Boachuk, Israel Madrimov, guys like Errol Spence and Keith Thurman, who haven't even fought yet at 154 pounds. What is next for Bakhram? What is the perfect next fight for him, you think?
I think all the respect to all those names you said, they're all future Hall of Famers and legends of boxing. And They're all great names. They're all good names. But I honestly think we are up to unify the titles. Only at this point, he's only interested in unifying the titles. So I don't see Crawford wanting this. If he wants, then, you know, I guess blessed. Let's do it. But I don't know, for some reason I don't see him doing this. And I think maybe the winner of, you know, Honduras and Spence. That would be great. If Bakhram wants it, I'm okay with that. Either one of those guys are good matchup for us. We just need a little time to work on them, you know, and that's it.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen that in a loaded division, even in a loss, that guys are coming back. Like Madrimov, Boachuk, both guys lost, and now they're going to be fighting each other December 2021. I'm sorry, December 21 later this year. With the Crawford fight, though, he seems like he only wants to fight Canelo or go for undisputed at 154 pounds. So that would have to mean that he would have to fight Bakhram if he wants that undisputed title. So there's no way of kind of dancing around Bakhram, kind of like what Jermell Charlo did for so many years. And Terence Crawford has made it known that winning undisputed in 3 different weight classes is important for him. What do you think a Crawford-Bakhram Murtazaliev fight would look like?
I think it's going to look like a big man fighting a small man. That's what it's going to.
Yeah, obviously Bakhram is on the bigger side. Crawford looks smaller against Madrimov. Did you like? Were you impressed by his performance?
They are the same height. He's not smaller than Madrimov. They are the same height. He's just a little more like slimmer, you know what I mean? And Madrimov is a little more stocky. But yeah, they're about the same size height-wise, you know what I mean? But if we end up fighting with Terence Crawford, which, you know, I would say he's probably pound for pound the best at this point, and this will be a great fight for us. We really up for it, but I think, you know, it's going to be looking pretty exciting, like a big man, very powerful man fighting a small man, very skilled man. So it's going to be a crazy fight if that happens.
Do you think Crawford could beat Canelo?
Oh, I don't know. Probably not. I think Canelo stops Crawford.
Yeah, a lot of people are predicting that.
Before, like they did with Mayweather, yeah, I say Crawford, you know, Crawford definitely gets the win. But at this point, I don't care what Crawford is going to throw at him. He's going to take it. And when he throws at him, Crawford is not going to take it. That's the problem.
What about Fundura Spence? Do you think Spence still has some left in the tank, or do you think that's going to be a Fundura fight?
Gonna win.
I'm sorry, one more time?
He's going to win that fight if they fight.
Oh, you think Spence will win?
When is the last time? I mean, you've seen Fundora stopping people and having enough power. Like he's not a knockout rider. He's a pressure fighter, throws 1,000 punches, whatever. But it's very hard to control Spence, right? Let's not forget who Spence is, right? Okay, let's not forget what he did for boxing with all those crazy fights, with all those great fights. Just because Terence Crawford beat him, it doesn't mean that, you know, he's just nobody. No, he's still Errol Spence, you know, and try to stop Spence coming in is going to be very hard for a guy who doesn't have that crazy punch, right? You know what I mean? So Honduras stopping Spence from coming in, and when Spence comes in, he's a problem.
Who do you think is the best 154-pound fighter outside of Bakhram right now? I'm sure you have Bakhram #1, but who do you have as the outside of him as the best 154-pounder?
Well, at this point, they say Crawford, but we have to see it when we fight him, or when he fights like Fundora. You know, Fundora has 2 belts right now, man. He's like the king of the division right now at this point, right? They don't even rank. They're ranking behind us for some reason after this fight. But all those rankings, all those things, we don't know until we fight each other, right? So I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, we got the best fighter sitting at home right now and I train him. No, we have to fight and see, right? we have to fight and see. I mean, what Fondura did with Tszyu and what we did with Tszyu, it's a whole different level of, you know what I mean? But I guess styles makes fights. So when we fight him, we'll find out, you know?
This is obviously a big coming out party for Bakhram because not a lot of people knew him on the world stage like this. He's obviously been an IBF mandatory for so many years, did not have to take so many step-aside fights. He beats Jack Kukai in Germany earlier this year by knockout to win the title. But how proud are you being his trainer for his last 3 fights? How proud is this moment for you as a team to enjoy this together?
Very, I mean, it's very happy moment, of course, right? So another champion, you know. So it's been hard. It's been a hard camp, you know. So I knew the outcome is gonna be, you know, whatever it was. I didn't think it was gonna be the 3rd round. I was like hoping, you know. I told my friends, actually, I have a text from him, bet money on the 3rd round. If not, then on the 9th. And he put money on the 3rd round. So it's kind of like, you know, it was like, okay, we're gonna do it in the beginning or before the championship rounds, but we're gonna stop him for sure, you know. So yeah, I was hoping actually maybe it's gonna be towards the end, you know, we're gonna break him down slowly, but you know, he ran into the one thing that we've been drilling and drilling and drilling for like weeks, you know, and then he just walked into that. So he was right there, you know. So it was a big celebration. We all, you know, got happy. We had some food. Neither one of us drinks, so we had no drinks. So that was it. And now we're back at it again.
Well, next time you have betting advice, you have to make sure to let everyone else know. So that
They just called me and asked me those questions, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay.
With how did your relationship with Bakhram come to be? He's obviously Russian, you're Armenian, you speak Russian as well, you're based in Glendale. How did your relationship come about?
Okay, so he was in Oxnard with Besputin and Lomachenko and Usyk and all those guys, right? So what happened is when Besputin came over, I started training him, and he was the mandatory for WBA. Then Bakhram wanted to come to train. That was like 5 years ago or so, in 2019, 18. So then he invited me to go watch his fight when he was fighting for the mandatory. For I forgot the name, but in Vegas, he was fighting somebody to be the #1 spot for IBF. I went and I watched his fight. And after the fight, I started training Besputin for the WBA title, and so I couldn't take him. I don't like to have too many fighters at once because when, you know, we're getting ready for something big, I don't want to mess up nobody's career. So focusing on one guy and not focusing on the other. So I said, I can't right now. But then he went to, what's his name? Andre Ward's coach, Virgil.
Virgil Hunter.
He went to Virgil. He did a fight with him. And then Besputin became a champion. Then he retired. Then Bakhram contacted me and he's like, okay, so what do you do nowadays? Would you mind if I come start training? So we set up one date. So we did a test, how it goes. And then I liked him a lot. And then he's like, okay, well, this was great. Can we continue? So then he moved to Glendale. It's been like 3 years now.
So does he live full-time in Glendale as well?
So yeah, he does have his apartment in Glendale. He lives in Glendale, but his family and his kids and his wife come here and go. But he's like, after every fight, he goes home for like a month, max 2. I don't like more than a month. But yeah, when he goes there, I send him his schedule for training. He does his trainings over there too. So then after a month and a half, max maybe 2 months, he comes back. Then we continue working again.
So next time we see someone in that Corvette that looks like Bakhram, we shouldn't be surprised.
Okay. Yeah.
What kind of a car do you have there behind you?
It's a 63 Corvette.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looks like it's in great condition. Now let's go back to some of the other fighters you were training. I know you mentioned Alexander Besputin. I first connected with you years back when you were training Vanes Martirosyan. I know, unfortunately, Vanes is going through some tough times right now with his health. What's the latest with Vanes and what he's been going through?
So I'm pretty much in contact with him every single day. Even today, we talked in the morning. Last night, we talked before sleep. every single day I talk to him pretty much. I train his son. He comes to my gym. His son, his dad is always there at the gym. I see the whole family all the time. So he's like my little brother. I know him since he was 14, right? So I mean, through the whole career, ever since he was a kid, I know him. So he's like, I not like a coach, but like an older brother. He's like my brother. That's how I see him. So even some fights I didn't train him, I was still with him, kind of. You know what I mean? So, anyways, like yeah, I think he's going towards better. So at first, if I'm not wrong, I think they said stage 3. Now I dropped to stage 2, and he did some chemotherapy at the treatment center, and he's getting much better right now. So thank God, thanks for now everybody, the whole boxing community's prayers and stuff like that. Even in Orlando, Florida, I had to FaceTime him because everybody, there was like, a lot of big boxing community over there for those fights, right? So everybody was coming up to me and asking about him. So at the end, I had to like FaceTime so he can he can see everybody and everybody can wish him good luck and stuff like that. So at this point, he's back home after the treatments. I guess he's gonna wait a little bit, see how it goes, and then continue the treatments or maybe be done with it. So that's the case, yeah.
Well, Vanis is a fighter at heart. I've had the pleasure of knowing him ever since he was evolving into the contender and title challenger that he became to be, and we're all pulling for him to make sure that he passes through this tough test in life and he can resume back in a full slate of health. What, as far as you though, Roma, what else do you? I know you're at KD MMA now. What's keeping you busy there?
Kids, I love working with kids. My son, future fighters. We have a lot of pro fighters, amateur fighters. It's like, my favorite place to be.
And KD MMA has been the place where Arman Tsarukyan, the #1 lightweight contender in the UFC for Islam Makhachev's title, when he's in Los Angeles, he comes and trains with you. He has held some workshops at the gym as well too. What has that been like, kind of being around Arman over the last few years, helping him out?
A young fighter who I really love my little brother, you know what I mean? So I love working with him. He's probably the most disciplined athlete I've ever seen my entire life. We had a tough fight in Vegas. The next morning on Sunday, I fly to LA. As soon as I land, I call him. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, he went for a bike ride for like, I don't know, like 100 miles or something, you know what I mean? Or the next day he's at the gym running on a treadmill like 5 miles and stuff. He's very disciplined. He just lives the sport, you know what I mean? There's nothing else for him. He loves it and he lives it. He just like, it's all about the sport. It's all about the, UFC and MMA and grappling and wrestling and boxing. That's it. So it's very fun working with him, man. He's a very high level athlete.
He obviously trains at American Top Team when he's here in the United States, but when he trains specifically with you for a few sessions, what do you help him with?
Well, most of the fights before the camp, I move in with him. So it doesn't matter where he is. Like for the next fight, if he's in, Florida, then I'll probably go to Florida and I come back and go back and forth. And then last couple of weeks when he moves to Vegas for the fights, I move in with him to Vegas and stuff like that. But yeah, we just mainly do boxing and kickboxing pretty much. That's it. Just like most of my previous UFC fighters and stuff. I only do striking part. I have no control over the wrestling and the grappling and all that stuff. I only do striking, yeah.
How would you assess his performance against Oliveira? Because that one had some striking in kickboxing, but it was a very intense grappling match. How would you assess Arman's performance, just surviving some scary moments and coming away with the win?
It was scary on TV for people, but it was not scary because I knew what's going on. Oliveira was at the end. Oliveira was so tired. There was no way he could have finished Arman. And Arman, the way he went down on his belly, and that's how you protect yourself. When you go in that position, you can be pretty much choked out. And also one thing, we drill this move, how to protect yourself and how for like his entire camp, because that's his main thing he does, Oliveira, right? That one submission he does. So I was not even worried, man. I was like right there ringside. Didn't bother me. I knew what was going on. So, but then the first one, the first submission attempt, yeah, that one was scary. He barely got out. But then the one at the end, people saying, "Oh, he got saved by the bell." That's not true. He was not even trying to submit him. He just got a hold of him, and he was just like waiting until the finish.
Yeah, that was a veteran move, certainly. Arman explained it himself afterwards, too, saying it was a tactical move to kind of lay defenseless and motionless there for a moment. But now moving forward, it's the Makhachev fight. It's all in. I recently spoke with Dana White. He told me that fight is going to happen next. They're trying to figure out the location and the date. How are you guys preparing for this rematch that everyone is waiting for?
To be honest, I have no knowledge of it. We're not preparing for it at this point until the camp starts. But when the camp starts, we will have a game plan. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Right now, he's working on his wrestling. He's sharpening his tools. He was in Armenia with the team. Then he went to Russia. Now he's in Saudi Arabia, I think, for the fights. As we speak, he just landed over there. He's there for the fights. He did some reality show in Russia, like MMA show. Anyways, so as soon as we get the date and the location and everything, then I'll call him. We'll talk. We'll see what's the deal, and then we jump on board. That's it.
How incredible would that fight be if it was in Los Angeles?
Well, honestly, I heard that the UFC is up for it in Los Angeles because of what happened in Vegas last time. There was like 18,000 people or something in the arena. I felt like 50% over was Armenians with the flags and stuff. So after what they have seen over there, I think, I heard they want to do in Los Angeles if possibly they can. If not, then I think Vegas would be the best option.
Yeah, the UFC has a deal with the Honda Center where they have to bring certain shows there over the next few years. So certainly, I'm sure that would be something to bring to in the Southern California market. How?
Is big enough. What do you think? I don't know. I'm not sure.
What's that again?
How big is Honda? I don't think Honda is big enough.
Honda's a regular arena, 17, 18,000. It fits. They did.
I thought it was smaller, but I guess 17, 18 would be good.
It's a hockey. Yeah.
Much better, I think. I don't know. Crypto arena.
It's a hockey arena, and they did Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilya Topuria.
Yeah, I've been there
Earlier this year. With how incredible has it been for Arman to just be a role model for the next generation of Armenians who are looking to get into sports, who are looking to get into fighting? He's built a really big fan base around him.
Yeah, man. Not only Armenians, man. I would say just like in general. In general, man, like it doesn't matter if you're in Glendale or if you're in Vegas or any other state. When you're with him, he's like I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio of the MMA. You know what I mean? So everyone wants a picture or autograph or even a handshake, high five or whatever. But yeah, he's a big superstar right now.
Before I let you go, I need to get your prediction. Obviously, Arman said he's going to win this world title. It's without question. The first fight was highly complicated. Arman took the fight on 10 days notice, his first fight in the UFC. A lot of variables that obviously impacted perhaps his performance. But what do you think the rematch would look like?
I think I don't know, man. I would say 10 times better than before. I don't know how much better Islam is. I'm sure he's much better too. He has more confidence. He's been the champion. He's been dominating the division. But, I don't know him, but I know Arman, and I know, he's mentally and physically so much better, man. And I think he has a little edge, and I think he's going to use that and win. Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see what 2025 looks like for you, Roma. Again, congratulations. Looks like you're going to be in some big time boxing fights and some big time MMA fights over the first half of next year. And congratulations to you.